liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Almighty God, as we gather, we thank you for everybody that's here, and we ask that you would bless each one. We ask that through the people who are here, you would bless all the students, all the staff members, all of the guardians and parents of the students in Pendleton County. Bless us that we can bless them. Amen.
Amen.
The first thing we have is presentations from the West Virginia Extension Service. Brooke Alt.
Well, thank you guys for having me here. I asked Christy what all I needed to tell you guys, and she's like, just give them an update. So here I am to give you an update. We are excited to have the Energy Express program back this summer. We'll host it again at Franklin Elementary, and it'll be able to serve elementary students from all 3 elementary schools. Christy's working on transportation and getting all that pulled together, so once we have the youth applications in, that we can, get bus routes figured out. Some dispositions from your all's side that we'll need hired is the cook and custodian in transportation. We've worked with JP and crunched numbers and looked at numbers from after last year. So everything seems to be looking good. And I do have a copy of our budget that was approved through WVU if you guys just want to take a look at that to kind of crunch numbers. We are asked to give a 30% local match from the community, and then the university covers the rest of it. We're working on gathering those local donations. We're almost there. We're about $4,000. You probably already see this. $4,000 short. So if anybody knows of anyone who has some extra money they want to float around to us, we'll take it for our summer programming. I also have I'll leave this with Christy. She sent it out to the schools, the application for the site coordinator, which Corey Wagner filled that position last year. She's not coming back to us, unfortunately, for the summer. So if you know of any teachers who may be interested in applying for that, there's a commitment of going to a training in April, and then, of course, the 8 weeks in the summer. Other than that, we did have an application come in for our community coordinator who works for and gathering all of our volunteers, and that was Tanya. She did work for us last summer, so we're excited that she'll be coming back to us. And then I've also been talking with Janice Heavener as well with the Grow Your Own program to see if we can recruit some of those kids to be mentors. So the struggle we're having with theirs, they don't want to give up their summer, which I understand. But I worked for this program coming through college in Mineral County, and I've really enjoyed it. I've seen the benefits of it, and it'll really let them know if they want to be in a classroom. Hopefully it's a positive experience for them, but it's better for them to know now before they continue on. They can change their mind a little bit if they want to. Other than that, am I missing anything?
Yeah.
Okay, I think
We're
that's
excited.
We're there. Like I said, we're finishing gathering up the money needs that we have. Applications for students will probably go out April 1st. So we can start gathering those back. They'll be due May 15th, and then we'll make our decision. Hopefully we have a waiting list, but we'll see.
Last year, some of the Grow Your Own students participated, didn't they?
They came and were the teen volunteers.
Okay. They didn't
I
do
was
that.
telling her Vivian Panel was one of our teen volunteers. She's very active in that program. And she's actually applied to be a mentor this year.
Good.
So,
Good. Cool.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
yeah, thank
Great
you guys.
program, Brooke.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good
Thank you,
program.
Brooke. It's a great program.
I'm excited for it. So,
I don't think we have anything under public comment, so now we move to school improvement, student achievement.
Oh, the mic.
Oh, yep. Thank you.
Here's one. Here's the next one here.
Yeah, there is an extra one.
Go ahead.
Okay. I think you all have some documents that Nicole shared with you all, uploaded them.
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
They're under.
Tell me which one you want.
Let's start with the chart 4.
Chart 4, okay, all right.
So we just wanted to, a little bit later in the meeting, you're gonna see some information about a career literacy position. We just wanted to kind of explain what that was, so that everybody knew going into it what the expectations of this position was and why we're about to ask for it. So if the chart 4, this has all of the requirements of a middle school student within policy 2510. I've highlighted, if you scroll down just a little bit to the career exploration, JP, right there, I went ahead and highlighted the career exploration part. Each 6th through 8th grade student is required by state code and WVDE policy to have a career exploration experience where they get to learn about all of the career clusters. And so with that, I think this was the first year, and I talked about this in the LSIC presentation. This is the first year that every student, every 8th grader has had that in a way that will be on their transcript so that the CTE money will then come in for those students. Our plan with this position is next year, every single 7th grader and 8th grader will experience a career exploration class while they're in the middle school as part of their regular schedule. The next document is just a graphic on the cross-cutting or the career clusters. These are the official career clusters that has been put out by Pathways to College and Career Readiness. So these are the clusters that program will be, that teacher will be required to teach the students about. So as you look through there, it covers pretty much any type of job that you can imagine any of our students having. And then the last flyer, it's the DYF. Yes. So this is the actual course that the career literacy teacher will be teaching. It's called Discover Your Future. It's actually the course that Stephanie and I, mostly Stephanie, worked together while we were at the department to create. We partnered with middle school teachers around the state for them to create high quality, very engaging activities that are pre-planned and ready for the teachers to implement with very little experience and planning necessary. All of the information, materials, etc. are found on the DYF website. So this is the actual course that they'll be teaching, and the other documents on there, JP, are just pictures of what Miss Vivian Ely has been teaching it this year, and there is a picture of the engineering unit. They were required to build a tower to see who could build one that was structurally stable enough to be the highest. And then the other document is an example of the job application unit where they created resumes. So these are the types of activities that the students will be engaged in while also learning about current careers and future careers while they're in that class in 7th and 8th grade.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, it says they'll be exposed to all 16. How many can they actually, in the time frame they have in that class, can they explore?
Well, our plan is to do half of them in 7th grade and half of them in 8th grade.
So they'd have 2 years to.
Yep.
If they did it, okay.
Yes. So we are going to cut it right in half so that they have the ability to do all of them during that class, because it will be the whole, it'll be a regular period in their day. So they'll have about 53 minutes to have that lesson. And we've called it a career literacy teacher on purpose, because that's what she spent the majority of her career doing in Cabell County. So while they will be doing units on the career clusters, it will be with an ELA focus, so we can work on their reading and writing skills through career literacy, through the careers. So it's a
That's good.
Dual purpose.
Raising 2 middle school kids, what they want in the 7th grade, they won't want in the 8th grade.
Exactly. So our hope is to not only raise career awareness, but raise writing scores also.
So will there be an opportunity for them to visit different places?
Part of the curriculum are field trips and guest speakers. So having having people come in. We're actually, I think, having a guest speaker come in Thursday.
This week, yeah.
Thursday.
Healthcare unit.
Yep. So yes, and all of those are built in with recommended people to reach out to, whether it be in-state, out-of-state, individuals, unions, things like that.
I had a class similar to this in college, and I thought it was awesome. So,
Definitely, yeah. And the
It'll be a really awesome opportunity for our kids.
yeah.
And the position that we're asking to post includes an interventionist so that we have the flexibility to provide student services as well. You know, right now, probably the rotation in the schedule would be that it would be full-time in this area, but we don't know enrollment in the future. And so that provides some flexibility for that position, so. Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. You're welcome.
Anything else under school improvement, student achievement?
No.
Okay. Student staff recognition.
Okay, first I want to thank Mr. Hebner, Travis Hebner, for the oversight and organization of Math Field Day. Surprisingly this year we were able to get it done in the first try and didn't have to have a snow day, so we very much appreciate all the hard work that he puts into that. And I wanted to share for student recognition the students that won. So for 9th grade, first place was Isabella Jameson, second place was Ziva Jones, and third place was Lainey Bowers. For 8th grade, first place was Beckett Alman, second place Alana Huffman, third place Noah Kobetic. 7th grade, Elena Hedrick. For first place, Owen Champ second, and third, Eli Boyer. For 6th grade, Macy Mitchell was first place, Harley Bowers second, and Declan Shane for third. For 5th grade, Derek Greathouse first place, Thomas Connor second, and Sonny Milstead third. And for 4th grade, Bethany Teagarden first place, Emmett Sisson second place, and Nathaniel Vinsel third. And they all worked really hard and had a great day.
Good. Anything else, under student achievement or student or staff recognition? Okay, we received minutes for the February 17th meeting. Are there any corrections or objections to the minutes as received, or do we have a motion to approve them as presented?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from February 17th as presented. Any discussion? Not then, all in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. The minutes are approved. Personnel.
Resignations and retirements. We have Adam Barker, custodian at Pendleton County Middle High School. Hillary Fox, volleyball coach at Pendleton County Middle High School. And Taylor Southerly, assistant softball coach at Pendleton County Middle High School.
And you have my recommendation to accept these resignations as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we accept these resignations as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of accepting the resignations of Adam Barker, Hillary Fox, and Taylor Southerly, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. The resignations are accepted.
RIFs and transfers. We have Shannon Hartman, a RIF and for extracurricular educational sign language at Pendleton County Middle High School. Marlena Beechler, RIF, educational sign language interpreter aide position at Pendleton County Middle High School. And Amy Gardner, transfer preschool ECAT 2 at Franklin Elementary School.
And you have my recommendation to accept these RIFs and transfers as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending accepting these RIFs and transfer. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
Where's Amy being
She's
transferred?
Right now, we don't know for
Oh.
sure.
Okay,
But she will have a position somewhere.
okay.
Anything else? Then all in favor of approving the RIFs of Shannon Hartman and Marlene Beechler and the transfer of Amy Gardner, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Rescind RIFs and transfers. We have one to rescind, Aaliyah Wright, Community in School Site Resources Facilitator at Brandywine Elementary School.
You have my recommendation to rescind the RIF of Aaliyah Wright as the Community and Schools Resource Facilitator.
We have a superintendent's recommendation to rescind the RIF. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
Is she going to continue just to be a Brandywine? I thought, is that the position is going to be part-time?
She's later on the agenda, you'll see.
Okay, I'm
She's-
sorry.
She's itinerant, part-time at Brandywine and part-time at North Fork in the agenda later.
Anything else? Then all in favor of granting the permission to rescind the RIF by Aaliyah Wright, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. The RIF will be rescinded.
Okay, permission to close the following positions. English Language Arts Teacher, grades 7 through 12 at Pendleton County Middle High School. English Language Arts Teacher, 7 through 12 at Pendleton County Middle High School. And a Math Teacher, grades 7 through 12 at Pendleton County Middle High School.
And you have my recommendation to close the positions as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we grant permission to close these 3 positions. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
Just due to lack of students and not need.
And we're just reorganizing some things.
Okay, thank you.
Anything additional? Then all in favor of granting the permission to close the 2 English language arts teachers at Pendleton County Middle High and a math teacher at Pendleton County Middle High, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unopposed, no. Motion passes. We have granted permission to close.
Okay, permission to post. English Language Arts / Social Studies Teacher, grades 7 through 12 at Pendleton County Middle High School. Career Literacy Teacher Interventionist, grades 7 through 12 at Pendleton County Middle High School. And an extracurricular before and after school detention teacher at Franklin Elementary School.
You have my recommendation to give permission to post these 3 positions as presented.
Our superintendent's recommended that we grant permission to post these 3 positions. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of granting permission to post English Language Arts Social Studies at Pendleton County Middle High, Career Literacy Teacher Interventionist at Pendleton County Middle High, and extracurricular before and after school detention teacher at Franklin Elementary, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Okay, employment of personnel, Hillary Fox for extracurricular head softball coach at Pendleton County Middle High School. Heidi Davis, kindergarten elementary teacher at Brandywine Elementary School. And Christine Kyle as substitute school nurse.
And you have my recommendation to approve the employment of these personnel as presented.
We have our superintendent's recommendation to approve the employment of these personnel. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving Hillary Fox as the head softball coach, Heidi Davis as a kindergarten teacher at Brandywine, and Christine Kyle as a substitute school nurse, please signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed, no. Okay.
Okay. Approval of contracts. Sorry.
I would like to go into executive session and discuss that.
I have a request to go into executive session for personnel. I don't know if I've got my cheat sheet
I've got it.
handy. You
I've got it.
West Virginia Code 6984
Is it
A.
A?
Yep.
Yep.
So was that a motion?
Oh, make a motion. So moved?
You moved to go into executive session.
moved.
I
For
moved to go
personnel.
into executive session.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to go into executive session for personnel. Any discussion on that? Then all in favor of going into executive session for personnel, West Virginia Code 69A4A, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. We'll go into executive session at 5.
Too many buttons to push. 5.
Now, I'll accept the motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
We have motion and second to come out of executive session. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes, so at 6:06, we come out of executive session with no action taken. And we will proceed.
Okay. Approval of contracts. The first contracts are Tanya Worley, parent coordinator at Franklin Elementary School, and she will have yearly hours to give her some flexibility. Nancy Inyart, parent coordinator at Brandywine Elementary School with yearly hours, and Jeanette Radcliffe, parent coordinator at North Fork Elementary School with yearly hours. Reclassification, we have Amanda Morgan, halftime cook and halftime aide/coordinator. Substitute administrative personnel, John Jenkins and Rick Lindenberg. And mutual agreements, we have Barbara Whitecotton, school improvement coordinator and career and technical director at Pendleton County Board of Education. And Aaliyah Wright, itinerant communities and schools site resources facilitator at Brandywine Elementary and North Fork Elementary School.
And you have my recommendation to approve the contracts as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the contracts as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
Yes, I would like to know why we need a director for the career and technical if the person is going to oversee that program that's employed there.
It's a requirement, and the guidance from the State Department would be that that person would be a administrator, and most of them are at the central office. That would be the guidance that the State Department gave us, that most of them would be at the central office because they have county-wide availability to data, so that helps them tremendously to be able to do the job.
Anything else under contracts that we have to this point? Then all in favor of approving these contracts as listed to this point, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Okay. Extracurricular contracts, we have administration of medication, and we have Dawn Halterman, Karen Robertson, Ashley Van Meter, and Hillary Fox. Extracurricular before and after school reading and math tutors, we have Angie Cooper, Carrie Shea Dove, Aaron I, Kenna Hendrick Champ, Crystal Huffman Warner, Sierra Nine Miller, Tracy Reitzel, Latasha Triplett, Christine Lambert, and Rachel Mitchell. Communication coordinator, we have Christine Lambert. Extended school year, Crystal Huffman Warner. General maintenance, Andrew Moyers, based on the substitute service scale. Instructional support mentor, John Jenkins. Investigator consultant, Title IX and personnel, Ross Boggs. Mechanic assistant, food supply deliverer, commodities and overseas substitute rotation schedule, John Swecker, based on substitute service scale. Mentoring, Shelby Venzel, school counselors only. Primary therapy dog handler, Matthew Vance. SAT 504 attendance MTSS coordinator at Pendleton County High School is Leslie Cook. And SAT 504 attendance MTSS coordinator at Brandywine Elementary is Lindsay Hauk.
And you have my recommendation to approve these extracurricular contracts as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending approving these extracurricular contracts as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approval of these extracurricular contracts as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Okay, professional contracted services. We have Anthony Tingler, contracted bus driver. Kent Kimball, contracted bus driver. William Bill Beatty, contracted bus driver. Lisa Harper, contracted bus driver. Virginia Rogers, contracted bus driver. Kimberly Davis, contracted bus driver. Best Life Therapy, PT and Audiology, Shannon Conoco, Speech Language Services, Amy Eason, PT Services, Pendleton Manor, PT Services, Linda Teeter, Substitute Speech Services.
You have my recommendation to approve the professional contract services as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending approving these professional contracted services. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the professional contracted services as presented, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Nothing under non-paid coaches.
Nope. And approval of volunteers and chaperones. Pendleton County Middle High School volunteers, Cammie Kaiser, Jacqueline Props, Lynn Trey Kaiser, and Chad Props. For Pendleton County Middle High School chaperones, Cammie Kaiser, Jacqueline Props, Lynn Trey Kaiser, and Chad Props. And Pendleton County Middle High School drivers, Cammie Kaiser, Jacqueline Props, Lynn Trey Kaiser, and Chad Props.
And you have my recommendation to approve these volunteers and chaperones as presented.
We have a recommendation to approve the volunteers and chaperones and drivers as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
Employees have to be approved,
For the
As-
driving.
oh, yeah, but as a volunteer, an employee has to be in,
We have been putting them on there like that.
oh, yeah, okay. Not required, we just do that?
Right.
Okay. So what's it? Thank you.
Anything additional? Then all in favor of approving the volunteer chaperones and drivers as presented, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. And I think that finishes us up under personnel. And now it brings us down to finance.
Treasurer's report I do not have for tonight. I was hoping to have it, but jury duty, among other things, kind of threw me back a little bit. So I will have it at the next meeting in 2 weeks. Item 8B, bills for approval. I do have bills for approval. So I will hit the highlights there. So I ran the report a little differently this much. It actually shows the total, 634, 210, 11. The direct deposit electronic, 352, 860, 56. The actual checks, 281, 349, 55. So the electronic are primarily payroll, insurances, and withholdings. The actual checks is where I give the highlights of 281, 349, 55. The first one on the second page of the PDF, Advantage Technology out of Charleston. They've done technology with us for years. We get E-rate money, as we talked about approving a contract with Hardy Net a meeting or so ago for internet. Also for internal connections like routers and switches and hubs. We purchased about $30,000 worth of equipment. We have a $7,500 county match. That's what the county match is, but again, it's buying us almost $40,000 worth of equipment, so it's still a good deal for us with the E-rate program. The second, the highlighted page, just shows an example of purchased services, in this case from Best Life. There are others, including some that were just approved. There's PT services, there are sign language services, there are occupational therapy services, so sometimes folks kind of have those kind of runs together, technically different and technically different account code. And so Medicaid reimbursement helps us reimbursement for some of that, not necessarily all, but that's an example of the purchase services. Next page of the PDF, Edmentum, the virtual school. We had already paid around $50,000 for the fiscal year. This is $24,590 more for the virtual school options. And again, as I've said in the past, I'm sure we'll be discussing steps forward for FY27. I do think Edmentum is an excellent program from what I know, but it is pretty costly for us. And so that's another $24,590 cost there. The next page, page 5 of the PDF, page 5 of the bills also. I mean, it's hard in the wintertime when it was very cold there for a while. Obviously, electric bills for the month, at least checks written in February for the time frame of January to February, were about $40,000. Which is significant, but again, it is wintertime. It was very cold. And on a year, we spend almost 380,000 in electricity to 370. So it varies sometimes, but that certainly, we'd like to see it less, but that's the reality when it's very cold and you're trying to keep things heated. Now, going along with that, we still have some propane usage. The next item, and a little bit of that's diesel, about 10,000, but most of that's propane. Hopefully, the very cold days are behind us, and we'll see a lot of stabilization. As said at a prior board meeting, our rates for propane are very good. Electric rates we don't have any control over. I mean, with the PSC in Charleston and the electric companies, we have no control over those. Propane, there is some competition there, and rates now are pretty good as far as per gallon goes. Taproot Learning, working with Travis and some of his federal programs, paid by a federal grant of $3,000. Page 7 of the PDF, page 9 total. Board of Risk quarterly payments, again, it's more than what it used to be, but Board of Risk claims across the state have exploded in the past several years. So that's $281, $349, $55 for checks, going back to the first page. Total, adding electronic payments, total bills for the month, $634, $210, $11.
Yeah, my recommendation to pay the bills as presented.
Our superintendent's recommending that we pay the bills as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
JP, do our power bills here get all messed up like everybody else's? Just curious.
Like a short one?
I mean, it was just,
I
everybody's power
haven't seen any of
bills.
those yet. I will check with Brooke and accounts payable. I haven't seen any of them yet, but I think at home there were some that were short. I'm not quite sure what happened.
I was just
So,
curious, because we got one for 2 cents,
Right,
and then we got one for an enormous amount,
right.
and it looked like they had credited us for the amount that the actual first bill was we got.
I mean, I saw it
It was-
personally.
They spent more on the postage.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I'm sure their system is automatic
Yeah.
and just kicked them out. So I haven't seen it, but I will double check.
And
I will
some
double-
people's automated ones were even taken out double.
Right.
Like
Wow.
Darren had almost $1,000 electric bill taken out.
Wow.
And I hate to say next month's probably gonna be a bigger mess than this month.
Trying to
was.
correct it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm just
I will
curious.
follow up with
Which
AP
one
on that.
Yeah,
oh, mine was,
unless, I gotta check it now.
You better check, Katie. It was just, they were several messed up. I don't know, just curious.
Good question.
Yeah.
Any other
Better look,
questions?
JP.
I will double check.
Then all those in favor of paying the bills in the amount of $634,210.11, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We'll pay the bills.
Well, thank you. Budget revisions, had quite a few last meeting, none for this meeting, but we will have some future ones. Financial update, several different items. I guess the first one I will start with is where it says House Bill 5453. Now, if you logged in a half an hour or so before the board meeting, I added a couple right in the last 30 minutes, so you might need to refresh, or I will have them on the screen. So House Bill 5453 came out of House Education and House Finance and is on the House floor currently. And several things that would concern Pendleton County and schools across the state. Again, long way from passage, but it has passed 2 hurdles in House Education and House Finance. So their latest proposal, the substitute for the substitute, leaves the funding formula alone for the next 3 years, 26-27, 27-28, and 28-29. They had proposed changing it next year and having a 3-year hold harmless. Now it's just delaying it for 3 years. I'm not quite sure their thoughts on that, but effective for school year 2029-2030, it would be a block grant in the amount of $6,100 per student. I'll show you some numbers on that in a minute and what that means. In one hand, at first glance, that's not a terrible amount for us, but the next sentence is where their 1,400 floor becomes a 1,200 floor. So if you're multiplying that by 1,200 versus 1,400, then yes, preliminarily we would lose about $1 million a year based on that calculation. I think for quite a few counties across the state, a majority who aren't getting the 1,400 now, that 6,100 would represent an increase. because it would allow all counties to get that much and keep all the local taxes collected, not have the state take away 85%. So if you do the calculations, you would have some winners and losers. Even if you're a winner, my caution would be, well, the legislature is not going to give you any more money unless they vote to raise it in legislation. So if you have a pay raise, what does that mean? It doesn't say. I don't know if, would they automatically give you more money? Have to go back and amend this, or, pass a new bill. If there's inflation, or if they leave it at this amount for 5 years, where does that leave you 5 years from now? So obviously, I do think on the surface, there would be some winners and losers to that. So I could see some counties saying yes, particularly for counties now with a large local share. The more taxes you generate now, the less state aid you get. And if they automatically give everybody 6,100, let's say Grant, our neighbor to the north, with the Vetco power plant, they've always had it, not as much as a natural gas county, but they've always had a decent amount of local share. They get far less state aid than we do. It's just the way the system works. Well, they would get to keep all their local share and get 6,100 per student when they get less. So that probably be one of the winners, I would say, in my limited calculations. And so, in some sense, you'd have an even wider disparity than what you do now across the state. And we double checked, even the Tylers and Wetzels that have all that natural gas money now get no state aid because their local share gives them what they need. They would get this state money and keep all their local share, the way it's currently worded. So it's kind of blows the mind, but that's where that is as far as the current calculation. And then it goes in and says there would be a special supplemental funding for special needs students. So this is the attempt. There's been a lot of talk about in the past couple of years needing more money for special education. If your students fell in Tier 2 and Tier 3, which means certain level of needs, there would be more money there for that. In Pendleton, we don't have a huge number of Tier 2 and Tier 3, and certainly Cary could give us that. So it would be a help. There'd be counties across the state that would certainly be far more beneficial
I have those numbers.
for that. Okay.
We have 7 Tier 2 and 3 Tier 3.
So 7 Tier 2 and 3 Tier 3. So that's, again, it would be a little money, but it certainly wouldn't be so at any rate, there's that. Now it does say in subsection C down there, and then additional supplemental funding. Well, they would put X amount of money in this supplemental fund. Doesn't say how much they would put in, and in theory, a county could write in and say, we need help with transportation, and have to make some kind of rationale. I guess you could look at so many miles, and it's up to the state superintendent to decide if you got extra money or not, yet to be determined. But if you had a vocational and technical education center, you could get extra money. And how would that tie in to like with South Branch, or if you're doing your own thing? I don't know the answer. Alternative learning centers, you could maybe apply for extra money if you want to do a pilot program. And so then it does go on to say, then they gave some oversight, and combined with the Hancock County cloud, still kind of hangs over state funding and a lot of thoughts. Then it gets into oversight, and if any district is engaging in maladministration or not spending money properly, then probably some penalties as far as what funding you would get. Failure to maintain reserve balances at certain levels recommended by the State Board of Ed. Failure to miss certain deadlines. And so anyhow, that's far more punitive than it's ever been in statute before. I understand it, but it doesn't really allow many exceptions to that. In Hancock County, again, while it's not what is happening in all counties across the state, again, it's kind of casting a cloud over what some folks think about public ed and the handling of public funds. So that is there. It's a concern. It's on the House floor. Will it pass the House? I mean, I have no idea. It might. I do think, again, we are about as connected as most people down there, and we've never seen a copy of exactly what it would do by county. We have heard, from reliable sources that it would hurt you, or hurt about 20-some counties, but so probably nobody has really seen much of this. Maybe certain legislators, I don't know who's seen it and who hasn't. But obviously if it gets to the Senate, then we would have to refocus our efforts on the Senate side to Senator Morris, who's been very responsive. Senator Hamilton's been very responsive. and then some others. But I will say there is a price tag to this, and that increase, since you have winners, that means they're getting more money. And it would cost the state some money. And I don't know if it's 50 or 100 million to do it. We wouldn't be getting any of that, but it's gonna cost them. So would the legislature have an appetite to spend more money on a bill like this, let alone how it's distributed? I guess that remains to be seen as they do their negotiating. But 5453 is there. There were several bills introduced in the Senate. I heard they died in Senate Finance. They didn't make crossover day. They would have been more favorable or certainly less harmful for us. I think Senator Grady had some pretty good bills there, but they died in Senate Finance. So, you know, I still feel like reasonably that this may not come to fruition, but it's getting some traction in Charleston. So we will certainly maintain, we are still connected. Charles is certainly still connected, and maintain vigilance. And, you know, it's a deliberate process, but things gain a lot of speed here at the end, you know, and then next Saturday, you know, 10 days from now, 11 days from now, is the end of the session. And some things that have languished for a while gain a lot of steam, and they have first, second, and third reading, and they go very quickly. So we will certainly have to be informed and be aware. And if you, as board members, you know, have any persons in the legislature just within reason and say, listen, you know, I mean, do you know how this, I'm guessing a lot of folks voting on this, my guess, I could be wrong, have not seen all the bottom line numbers, how it affects them, but I could be wrong about that. But anyhow, the sponsors and those folks certainly feel like it's a good thing. I heard on the audio, you know, them being applauded for simplifying the funding formula. Well, a flat amount's pretty simple, but obviously needs are pretty complex. You can look at transportation costs, or operations and maintenance, or inflation or substitute costs, let alone, you know, so some of those needs are complex. So to say it's simple, well, it's simple, but it's just a flat amount of money. And that's like a state average, and it's adding like 10% above the state average. You know, it's treating everybody the same with a base, and then a little bit extra for special ed, lowering the floor, not taking into account geography at all, you know, which we fought so hard for many years. And it's saying you get the same amount per pupil if you're in a highly populated area as a sparsely populated area. And you know, and so then, yes, we have 840, it's to go to 1,200, but obviously that's still far short of the 1,400.
Well, it looks to me like the Supreme Court could come in on this.
Well,
because the REC decision directly addressed this.
If you go back and look at the REC decision, it talks about children should not be deprived of education regardless of where they live. And you're exactly right. And so I do believe if it would go, there would be significant opportunities for challenge to that. You know, if you had a reasonable court, you know, that was willing to listen to that. And yeah, the REC decision certainly says, and I think a county like a Lincoln County, which does not generate much local share, you know, the state aid is similar to what they get now, maybe a little bit less, but their local share is far less. They're more populated than us, but their local share is maybe a third of our local share. So if they have to exist on this and their local share, and I think they'd be a real big loser. And then you have Putnam County just down the road, you know, and so you'd have a glaring disparity of that. So you're exactly right. It would be ripe.
Doesn't this open up for counties to want their valuations increased to get their local?
Well, I do believe in the background, the state is saying, we're only going to give you so much. If you want more money, you're going to talk to your voters, your commissioners, and you're going to decide if you're going to raise your taxes, whether it's a levy vote, whether it's the regular valuations that are in there. I mean, the rates are set by the state right now for our regular levy, but that could be the next thing to come undone. It's like, well, you guys now have the opportunity to raise or lower. Then you're in the tax business, you know, if that's the case. So I could see them putting a cap on it, and in the background, it's like, if you want more money, you figure out how to raise it.
It's going to let Dodge County go from rich to filthy rich.
Yeah, it would be unbelievable. It's already unbelievable and it would be unbelievable if they kept their excess levy and their local share on top of that, and state money on top of that. It would be mind-boggling. And I don't know how far those things. I mean, I do know there's an attempt, you know, but at the same time, I don't know how much is intentional, how much is unintentional. and maybe they're listening to me on the audio, but I will say, it is very discouraging. It is very discouraging.
Maybe we'll put artificial turf on our playgrounds.
I don't know, so at any rate, we need to be vigilant and still understand that, yeah, children should not be penalized if you're spread out or have all those needs, or come from a poor county in terms of tax valuations, and you're saying the state limit is this, no matter what. One of the things West Virginia used to get applauded for was the formula that said the less taxes you generate, the more the state kicks in. Then the state had to say, hey, you still got to make sure your rates are so high, your valuations are so high, don't game the system and try to be too low. But yeah, it would put pressure back on the local districts to try to figure out, okay, what would we do to generate more, or what would we do without in that case? So it's information. I do think it flies in the face of the rec decision. I really do believe that. But I guess we'll see what that means these days. I'm not sure. So that's just FYI, that's out there. So let's look at state aid FY27 projected. So this was actually sent out by the state. This is preliminary under the current funding formula, and it's ranked by state aid per pupil. And it's using our funded levels, not our actual numbers, but it's using our, this is what the projection would be for 27 under the current formula. And generally, the more state aid you get per pupil means the less local share you're contributing. So Clay County has long had low property valuations, and Lincoln, and Mingo, and some of those that are there listed. So they would stand, if you take, in column 2 shows what in total they get per pupil. So Clay County now gets $86.59 per pupil. Their local share is just over $1,000 per pupil. So if you cap them at 6,100, and then they're adding 1,000 to that, maybe a little bit more, you're just over 7,000. You're far short of the 8,600. Now that's Delegate Hanshaw's county. Delegate Hanshaw is Speaker of the House. How much have they looked at the detail of these numbers? I don't know. But that's Clay County. Lincoln is up there. I had heard Lincoln would be hurt pretty tremendously. Even though they have a high special ed population, those amounts aren't enough to make up that difference. Coming down to Pendleton, we're right in the middle, for our size, so we're right in the middle of what we generate local share, which for Pendleton County without large industry is pretty good. Our evaluations are pretty healthy, pretty reasonable. So Pendleton County, 1,382 kids, that's what we'd be funded for next year because of that slight adjustment Pocahontas, almost 1,400. We would generate $8,445.90 per pupil based upon that 1,382. Local share, $2,449.88. We would get almost 6,000. So right, we were projected 6,000 per pupil under the current formula, 6,100 under the new formula. So it's like, well, what's the harm? Well, the harm is that per pupil is multiplied by 1,382, and the current formula is multiplied by 1,200. And even if we would get more local share, the numbers come out to about $1 million less. $1 million less on that. So if they had the 1,400 floor in place, yes, different story on that. But 1,200 floor certainly. Plus, again, a flat. So again, what I heard off the record preliminarily was about 20 counties would be losers, about 35 counties would be winners. And depending on certain circumstances and things, you can see, and again, towards the bottom counties had more local share, and they get less state money currently. Even Pocahontas, which is similar to us, they have snowshoe and all those properties over there. Pocahontas County's local valuations are quite a bit more than Pendleton County's. In my very limited estimation, I think Pocahontas would about break even because they have $1,000 per less state aid they get than what we get because their local share is just higher on that. But some of the ones at the bottom now generate very little state aid. If you lock them in at 6,100 and let them keep their local share, well then yes, they're some of the big winners. Some of the big winners in those calculations. And so anyhow, that's information to kind of give you a visual. of how that would be. And there's a couple ways to look at it. You know, it gets to the Senate, lobby for a 1,300 floor or a 1,400 floor. Well, even then, the per pupil funding just doesn't look, you know, it doesn't look at the needs. It just says, here's a flat amount, we'll look at it later if it changes. And, you know, it's hard, and again, what happens if there's a pay raise or anything else that changes, or your fuel costs go way up? You can appeal for extra money, but, you know, I don't know how that would work. So there's a lot of concern about that. So that's the, under that one. Taxes, assessed evaluation, so we coincidentally, and we'll set the levy rates, estimated levy rates at the next board meeting. So coincidentally, I don't have the valuations, but we're gonna generate with valuations close to $4 million for local share when it comes down to it. We'll do the estimated levy rates next meeting and approve them the third Tuesday in April. So just a chart does show the valuations continue to increase and have increased steadily for almost 30 years. They're up again from about 730 million to about 770 million. A couple of the classes, some went up and some went down. So that's a general trend. And now again with the county commission, that's just revenue to them for their share. For us, the state takes away 85%, we keep 15%. So it's still extra funding under the current formula, but it's not nearly as much, only 15% difference of those valuations. So these get multiplied by the rates, and that's when we generate our local taxes. So we'll have more on that at the next meeting. The final computation, the final calculations, financial indicators. So the state in the past couple of years has tried to look at, even before Hancock County happened, ways of looking at counties to see how healthy they are financially. Well, you know, Hancock was such an odd combination of factors. I'm not sure what would have caught Hancock, because 1 year it all kind of blew up in 1 year's time. But so it's a list of like almost 20 factors. Number 9, which is right before highlighted, says 3%, we keep a 3% fund balance. Right now we're about 12. Our 1.7 million is about 12% of our budget. Okay, so that's where we are. So, you know, you get 10 points on your scorecard if you keep at least a 3%. If you keep above the recommended 16.67, you get an additional 10 points. So that last sentence of number 9, now again, so that would need even a larger fund balance than we have now to score points. So 3% for us, you know, really wouldn't be a major problem, and we should be at least there. 16.67, well, it would require us to probably be a little over 2 million. And again, compared to the days of 100,000 and balancing the budget, it's like, you know, how far do you want to go? But that's how the rankings go in that new legislation that's proposed. It talks about if you don't meet certain levels established by the State Department. So at least the 3% is where you want to be. If it's higher than the recommended average, you can get more. Then you look at number 10. If you have a decline of 5% or greater year over year, or if you haven't had a decline, you get 15 points. So let's say you go from 1.7 million to 1.2 million. Well, that's greater than 5% or greater, so we wouldn't probably get the 15 points in that example. Number 11, the general current expense fund balance has not experienced a 3-year trend of 10% or greater decline. So again, they're putting teeth into it, which in some ways I do understand it, trying to help look at the health of counties. And this was being looked at even before Hancock, but it has extra scrutiny now as it relates to counties across the state. So there's like almost 200 points or 150 points available. You have to have at least 105. That means 45 you can miss out on. But again, if you start missing 15 here and 15 there, it doesn't mean that you're in financial ruin, but the way they look at you is how they're scoring the points. So they're going to look at this more and more. It will make counties, I think, be more cognizant of the finances. For those of us without levies, it's always going to be somewhat harder than with levies because there's more room with levies, you know, depending on how you spend it. So those are just the ones about fund balance. So I think Superintendent Hebner mentioned about fund balance and trends and how even the state wants us to keep a certain minimum, they do, and it shows how those rankings are, and if they decline, what happens to that and that sort of thing. That's just information. I'm not super worried about that. At the same time, it's just timely and relevant that, if you would have told us 6 years ago that 1.5 million is like, it's like, gosh, we'll never have 1.5 million. Well, now it's like a minimum, so to speak, So, again, it's really not a minimum, but at the same time, the state is looking at it that way, and we just have to be aware as we go through. So that's all that I have under financial updates. I'm still hopeful in Charleston that we can certainly have reasonable legislation, but there are an alarming number of folks that certainly, just financially for public education, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and we don't see eye to eye with 100%. But that's all I have on our financial update.
Thanks, JP. Any questions for JP? Thank you. We will now move down to facilities and facilities update.
Okay, a couple things. We'll have Officer Fraley from the Capitol Police Department in on Thursday. He's coming in to do his annual review of the school system and the buildings. And he'll just do a walkthrough and make any suggestions that he might see from his walkthrough. He'll talk to the principals. He likes to have the principals walk through with him so he can point out different things that might need to be addressed. So I'll follow up with him on Thursday. I had a kind of a planning walkthrough with a subcontractor at Franklin Elementary last week. They came in to take a look at that, of the HVAC system down there, as we start getting that project up and going to install a couple exhaust fans in that building, and get everything tied back together to hopefully help us with the pressurization issue down there. So we're still in the beginning phases of that. Hopefully we'll have a more in-depth meeting here in a few weeks and get that project rolling a little bit faster. We did have a unit at the high school, CU2, go out. That's the unit that feeds kind of the old middle school building above the cafeteria. It did affect several classrooms. We had it on limp mode for a little while so we could at least provide some heat and some air as it was needed. But come to find out, the compressor went out of it, so we had to order another compressor and have it put in. So we've had a crew in there working the last couple of days to get that system back up and going and operational. So we've had quite a few. We had the other one at Franklin Elementary that was a couple week process of getting that one back up and going. It's back up and going as well. So right now I think we're back to where we need to be with everything running. So hopefully that'll stay that way. Any questions?
Thank you, Travis.
Yep.
Nothing under old business. Under new business, we have calendar changes for 26.
Want me to do that?
I don't have a copy of that.
Okay, it's just that during the week of spring break, we've had to add in that Thursday. So at this point in time, and with the way the weather forecast looks like, as long as we don't have any flooding, hopefully it'll stay that way. We did submit for a waiver, but it looks like the waiver is going to be more for like if you're adding days to the end of the calendar. So we're not overly optimistic, but we are hopeful. Not giving up yet. It closes on the 6th. If we get granted any days back, I will be very quick to let everybody know that, because I do know that it would be nice to have a spring break. So, but at this point in time right now, we're planning for Friday and Monday.
Okay. Which is kind of amazing that we're in that good a shape with all the days we've missed. It's been a year.
Yep.
Okay, so any questions under the 26 calendar changes? Then let's talk about the 27 calendar approval then.
Okay, so Lisa has given you guys a copy of the calendar that was voted on by staff. We submitted with Grant County and our calendar, and this is the calendar that won. So we'll be coming back on August 17th, and you know, we didn't get as many days as we wanted at the beginning, but we have several. And we're looking into some options about completing some of the required courses online, so that we don't have to take teachers so much to do some things that we have to do. So this is the calendar that we'll submit for approval through the State Department, and it meets all the criteria that we need.
And you do need, go ahead.
We do have 5 days for the first time without students.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I noticed
usually we start
that.
on that
Me
Friday, so
too.
this does add
Yeah.
in
Yes.
for that.
Yeah.
And that Friday's a professional learning day.
Mhm.
The students would come back on Monday.
Yep,
Yeah.
so it'd be a full
That
week.
PLA will be subtracted from our free time, so we have to subtract that 300.
Yes.
Okay, and we do need to approve this,
Yes,
don't
so
we?
you have my recommendation to approve the 2026-2027 school calendar as presented.
The superintendent's recommending that we approve the calendar as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the 2026-2027 school calendar as presented, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you. I think that finishes us up under new business, and we have chronic absence report.
That is Carrie, and she's out sick.
She's asked to table that.
So, yes, yep.
Work session follow-up report.
Okay, that was me, Carrie, and Emmy, but both of them are out sick. So I did give you all a copy. At the work session that Saturday, you guys had asked for some ratios to break down per school and for like the teachers and ECATs. So I've given you all a copy of all that. If you want to look over it and have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, but I gave you the breakdown of every school, every elementary school, and the grade with the number of students, the teacher, and the ECAT. And then I gave you a breakdown of the teacher versus the students and things that you all asked for. Carrie has the special education students and teachers and aides ratios, and Emmy was gonna bring some stuff for the counselors, but they'll be doing theirs next time.
Okay,
So you all can look over that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
thank you very much.
Great information.
Good information, yep. Any questions on that? Let's go to the superintendent's update then.
And my update will probably fall kind of also into my conferences and meetings. So tomorrow morning, both Christy and I will be leaving and heading towards Clarksburg. We have the West Virginia Association for School Administrators for the rest of the week. And we did plan collaboratively together in the central office for the March 10th academic growth data talk, and we have a lot of information to cover in the morning. We're going to cover social, emotional, attendance, discipline, academic growth, of course, several things that we're going to be looking at. We're all gearing up to make sure that the principals have data. We're asking the principals to come with social, emotional samples of how they're looking to provide intervention for students and how they're providing accountability. And so it should be a really good morning, and we're looking forward to it.
Good.
Yes.
Any questions for the superintendent under superintendent update? Conference and meeting update.
I covered that too.
Got that too. And then the next meeting we have will be Tuesday, March the 17th here at 5:30, and I will accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second? Second. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.